Hi, algebra. In this unit, or in this lesson, you're going to be working with decimals again and working with operations. So we're going to start seeing some patterns that will help us when we're working with decimals. Here we go. We're going to start here by multiplying or dividing by 10 to fill in all of the blanks. So looking at number 1, as we go up, it says that we are multiplying by 10. So 0.6 times 6, or 0.6 times 10 is 6. 6 times 10 would be 60, and 60 times 10 would be 100. Going down, we are dividing by 10. And I'm noticing that every time I multiply by 10, the decimal is moving to the right, for example, like that. So every time I divide by 10, the decimal is going to go to the left. So I end up with 0.06 down here. In number 2, I'm going to start at the top and divide by 10 on my way down. So 70 divided by 10 is 7. 7 divided by 10 is 0.7. And then 0.7 divided by 10 is going to be 0.07. Hopefully you're noticing a pattern as we go down with where those decimal places are. In number 3, I have 0.02 times 10 gets me 0.02. Notice that my decimal moved to the right. The number got bigger, and as I multiply that by 10, I'm just going to end up with 0.2. Decimal went to the right. In number 4, I have 0.34 divided by 10. That's going to be 0.034. And if I divide that by 10, I have yet another move to the left with my decimal, so it's 0.0034. Okay, check your work for numbers 5 and 6 right here. If you have any questions as you're working through these, please ask, please let me know. The big thing is that when you multiply by 10, your decimal moves to the right. And when you divide by 10, your decimal moves to the left. You might want to write that down. Number 7 is really similar to things we've seen before, where we have numbers on the number line adding up to a certain number. And as we keep going here, if we have 2.1, to add to that, we would need 7.9. Notice how 2.1 is 1/10 bigger than 2, and 7.9 is 1/10 smaller than 8. I've started with the first row, and everything in the first row would add up to 10. This says relax, don't do any more work than you need to. Here's an example of what that means. I'm looking at these tenths digits, and I know that 8 plus 2 equals 10, so that's getting me in a good spot. And I know that when I add those together, that would be 0, and then I would have to bring that extra 1 over to my ones, and this is currently is 9. If I add 1 more to that, that would be 10. So as I keep going here, in the next row, 7 plus 2 is 9, so that doesn't add up to 10. But the next one, my 10th digit adds to 10, so that's good. But when I would carry that 1, my next digit would add up to 11, because 4 plus 6 is already 10. I add 1 to that, it's 11. So that one doesn't work. The next one will work because 6 and 4 add up to 10, and 7 and 2 is 9, and when I add that 1 extra to it, that'll be 10. So in the last row here, these two would work. This one in the middle doesn't, because 9 plus 3 is not equal to 10. In number 9, this mobile would not be balanced. This would be the heavier side. And so my inequality symbol would go like this, because 5.2 plus 3.9 is going to be less than 5.2 plus 4. And that's because 4 is greater than 3.9. In number 10, this side is going to be greater than the other side. And as I'm looking at this, it's because 5.2 is 2/10 more than 5, but 3.9 is only 1/10 less than 4. In number 11, these two are equal, and that's because 5.21 is 2/100ths that much less than 5.23. And 3.98 is 2/100ths less than 4, and so they do end up being equal. In number 12, I know my decimal needs to go right after the 6, because in my problem I have 12 plus 24, that's going to be the 36, and then after the decimal I have the 0.5. In number 13, my decimal is going to go right after the 4. Because I have negative 12.5, I'm going farther into the negatives with 2.4, negative 2.4, so that's going to be at negative 14.9. In number 14, my decimal is going to go right after the 2, and that's because I'm noticing that I'm just adding on 0.24 to this, and so it's going to be that you're still going to have 12, and then you have your decimals after that. In 15 and 17, we are estimating. Our squiggly line means is approximately. And so in 15, 0.52 plus 0.4 is going to be approximately 0.9. I'm looking at those tenths digits there. 5 plus 4 is 9. In 17, I'm noticing that I have negatives for both of these. So I'm going to start in the negatives. I'm going to go farther into the negatives. And I have a 5 here in the hundredths place and a 4 in the hundredths place over there. And so if I go farther into the negatives, I'm essentially adding those together, and I would end up at about negative 0.09. We're going to skip down to number 20 down here, and this is where we have clues, and we're going to figure out where the numbers could possibly be. So I am 0.04 units away from negative 0.02. So here's our negative 0.02. We could go to the left or we could go to the right. They already went to the left for us, 0.04 units, and we end up at negative 0.06. If we go to the right, 0.04 units, notice that I stop at 0 here. That took me 0.02 units, so I have to go another 0.02, and I would end up at positive 0.02. In 21, we're going to start at negative 0.6, and we're going to go 0.5 units away. So let's go to the left. I know that I only need to go 0.4 units to get to negative 1, which means I need to go one more tenth, or 0.1, to have gone a total of 0.5 units. Going the other way, 0.5 units, I know I'm not going to quite make it to 0. I'm going to end up here at negative 0.1. So again, with these problems, use the number line as you need. If you need to stop partway through at a number like I did here at negative 1, do that. If you don't need to, you don't have to, but you can also be marking numbers to kind of help you guide where you're at. Number 22, I am 0.12 units away from 0.04. So let's go to the right first. If I'm going to go that far, 0.12 units, I'm just going to be adding them together, and I end up at 0.16. If I go to the left, I know that I'm going to end up at 0, and that took me 0.04 units. So I still have to go another 0.08 so that I have gone a total of 0.12. So I'm at negative 0.8 when I go to the left. And remember, as you do this, you don't have to really worry about doing it to scale perfectly on the number line, but just marking things along the way can really be helpful. In number 23, I could go 0.2 units this way. From 0.3, that would put me at 0.5. If I went 0.2 units the other way, that would put me at 0.1. In 24, if I go to the right 0.01 units, I'll be at 3.01. And if I go to the left 0.01 units, I would be at 2.99. In 25, if I go to the right 0.02 units, notice that we're in the negative, so now I would be at negative 3.78. If I go to the left 0.02 units, now I'm at negative 3.82, farther into the negatives.